I've had this, my trusty BMW R1250GS, for just over 6 years now, so I thought I'd better do a yearly update on how I'm getting on with it. It's been absolutely epic. Spoiler for the video. But anyway, I'll go for a little ride and I'll tell you exactly what's been going on. Right, let's get out of this field. Everyone keeps looking at me. Right, up the rickety track we go. Yeah, so as I was saying, I've had this bike for 6 years, just over 6 years. It was actually 6 years in January, so a little bit late, but what the hell, no one really cares. But yeah, I'll do a video on it every year on how I'm getting on. So basically, I'll take you back to when I first got it. I won't try and drag it out too long, because if you watch my videos, you already know I waffle too much, as I'm doing right now. This bike has been pretty much impeccable. The first 2 years there was literally no problems with it. Just had an annual service at Wollaston BMW, my local BMW dealership, as where I bought the bike from, and it was fine. However, just after 2 years, I think it was, I got a engine management light come on, and it was the exhaust flap, the dreaded exhaust flap. It was still under warranty at that point, so I took it back. They'd only just serviced it from memory, actually. So anyway, I took it back, and they had a look at it. Yes, the exhaust flap thank you. We'll replace that under warranty, no problem. So I got brand new headers. I thought I was just going to get some exhaust flappy thing, but no, they replaced the whole headers for free of charge. So that was no major issue. It's had one sort of like little epi, if you want to call it that, where I stalled it. I was actually going along and I went to pull out a side road and stalled the bike, and I sort of panicked a bit because the front end was sticking out into the main road. I think, oh damn, I stalled it. So I just pulled the clutch in, left it in gear, went to start it. It started and off I went, and then it came up with a big thing on the screen saying, take it to your local dealer, there's something wrong with it. So they done like a software-y thing. It didn't affect the way the bike was performing at all. It was perfectly fine. So that was the only issues I've had with it. And fast forward to now, so that was after 2 years, so another 4 years has gone past, and I've had literally nothing wrong with this bike. It has been impeccable in every single way. Except I just suddenly remembered the last little bit I had. There was a clutch switch faulty on it as well, which again was no big deal. I suddenly noticed that I sometimes leave it in gear when it's parked up, depending on where I'm parked. If I'm parked on like a little bit of a slope, I'll leave it in gear. It acts as a handbrake, I like to think. So yeah, I'll leave it in gear, and then all I do is get on the bike, pull the clutch in, press start, and it starts, and off I go. However, the clutch faulty switchy situation basically meant that when I tried doing that, it wouldn't start. I pressed in the start, and I thought, what the hell's going on here? It's not starting. So I just flick it into neutral with a foot, and it starts. Put it in first, away you go. No big issue. And it was doing that intermittently. Once I sort of thought, oh, that's a bit weird, I was sort of like starting it in neutral, then turn it off, then put it in first, try to start it. Sometimes it would start, sometimes it wouldn't. So there was it was a fault with the clutch switch, and they replaced that. I can't remember how much it was. It wasn't a lot of money. I'm saying about 80 quid. It was less than 100 quid anyway to do that at a main dealer as well, which you're going to pay a little bit more for, I understand. So that was pretty much it. The fit and finish on the bike, I would like to say first off about the fit and finish, because obviously you get people saying that the paint's flaking off the engine and blah de blah. You tend to get a lot of that if you look online. This particular bike has got no issues with paint flaking whatsoever. Not even a tiny little smidgen of paint has come off the engine. A lot of that will be thanks. Oh no, I'm being put off by that now. Oh, hello. Anyway, sorry if that's your girlfriend, please don't beat me. I'm old and decrepit, and anyway, back to the video. What was I saying? I got no idea what I was saying now. Yeah, I ain't getting old. You become invisible for good reason. If I had loads of money, I would suddenly become more attractive to younger women, but Not likely to happen now, I'm afraid. So I got I've got literally no idea what I was just saying. I'm gonna have to like pause and edit a big chunk of this video out. So next time you see me, I'll be somewhere else, not here near these houses. Right, I'm back in the room now. The paint corrosion I was talking about before I got rudely interrupted by a half-naked girl. The paint corrosion has not been an issue, as I've already outlined, on this particular machine. A lot of that may be due to the fact that I don't ride this thing all year round. Very infrequently in the winter. I might nab the odd window of opportunity when it's dry. It has to be dry. I don't mind a bit cold, but and I will just go out for a little bimble. So I would say 80% of my riding on this particular bike is in weather like this. The only time I've pretty much got drenched is every year I go to the Isle of Man. There's a big black cloud follows me to the Isle of Man every year. I'm sick of it. I'm going to sneak out this year. I'm going to get my bike out and I'm just going to sneak out under the cover of darkness, I reckon. Hopefully the cloud won't see me trundling at the M6. But yeah, so basically it does get wet occasionally, but only on the Isle of Man or Scotland or Wales. But yeah, that's probably a lot to do with why the engine paint is still immaculate on this beast. Other things, the ride quality itself has not changed. The suspension is exactly as it has been. You do hear again about suspension, because obviously this semi-active suspension, you do hear that failing. Some people say it fails at sort of like 30-odd thousand miles. So I'm yet to reach that dizzy heights. I'm only on about 23,000 so far, after my 6 years and a bit. So yeah, I've got 23,000, so it is pretty low mileage. All the other bits and bobs, the finish on it's fine, the plastics look good. They were looking a little bit dull. The plastics on the side, not the not painted bits of plastic, they do dull after a while, a bit like you get bumpers on cars that are not painted. The sun gets at it and it sort of like dulls it. My new mate James at Shiny Side Up, I'll get to that in a second, when I was up there having some bits done to this, I said to him, well, he actually commented, what the hell have you been cleaning this bike with? Because he's a bike detailer and installer of various bits on BMWs. So I said, oh, I don't know, just sort of like some car shampoo or whatever, bit of snow foam here and there, nothing. I don't really take much interest in detailing or whatever. So he told me not to use certain products from certain companies, and I bought some. I'm trying to think what it was called. XCP, I think it's called. It looks a bit like WD-40 when you spray it out, and it's to keep moisture. It's a bit like WD-40, or it's like AC50 but not gloopy like AC50. So it's a rust protector. So it's like you spray it on your bike after you cleaned it, and it will help keep the rust off. And it also happens to be very good at bringing back dull plastic. So with his advice, I sprayed some on. Well, in fact, he sprayed a panel on, and give it a little buff in, and it came up like new. And that was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Anyone come in? No. That was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it still looks like new 3 or 4 weeks later. So yeah, that seems to have done the trick. The paintwork on the tank is pretty much immaculate, apart from one little scratch that we couldn't get out. Again, James went over with his buffery type thing and put some whatever product he did, because he noticed a bit of a sheen. Is that what you call it? A little buffery sheeny bit on the side, where basically the inside of your legs rub the tank. So he just like machine polished that and got it all back to perfection. What have I done to this bike? Well, not a lot really. I put this carpy ride thing on, which seems to be working at the moment. I've just done an update on it. So yeah, I'm yet to get to grips with this carpy ride thing. Great when it's working, but it kept going a bit silent. It kept going off screen and things like that, but I'll get to that at another video. I'll see how I get on with that. Other things I've had done, I've had a little Temu special on the front. You bought that expensive bike, you put Temu crap on it. It's only the Perspex headlight guard, which is about $5. I think I've actually got it off eBay, not Temu. Well, that was about $5, and probably not even that. I stuck that on just to protect the headlight a little. So not exactly the greatest mod of all time. And these little grip puppies, I love these grip puppies. Again, a cheap mod, but it's improved my riding. I wasn't say tenfold, probably about fourfold, I reckon, if there's such thing as fourfold. The reason being is a lot of people put these grip puppies on for anti-vibration reasons. Now, you don't get a lot of vibrations on these bikes. You do get a bit, but only enough to let you know you're on a motorcycle. So vibration is not an issue with these. But what I did find, because I'm old and quite creaky, I did find that the grip, the actual grips on the bars are quite narrow in circumference. Is that the right terminology? They're quite narrow. So when you're riding, your hands are naturally more sort of like grip tight, not tight, but you know, the more grippy, like if you can see it on the GoPro. So with the grip puppies on, it makes the grips fatter, so you're not clenching your hands so much. Your hands are a little bit more open, and they are kind of soft and spongy a little bit as well, which is all nice. So the benefit for me with those, oh, I couldn't resist a little short shift. The benefits for me are I don't get so stiff hands when I'm riding. So yeah, they were probably a 10, 12 quid, something like that. Easy fit. Even I fitted them myself, and I don't do anything myself because I'm a complete numpty. But yeah, they've definitely improved the quality of my riding. Just that little 10 quid upgrade. Other things I've had, I had a Beowulf can put on it. That was a bit of an impulse purchase. I did want a fancy Akrapovic. I'm saying Akrapovic. I know they say it's not the right. Anyway, whatever. I was going to get a Posh can, and then I was at the Stafford Bike Show, and Beowulf were there. A little English company. They make all the exhaust cans in the UK, and I just happened to see they got a big banner in their stand, and it got a GS on it with one of these cans on it. I mean, to be fair, it's all right looking wise. It sounds great. It's very deep and growly, and it's quite a light can compared to the original as well. It doesn't really make a scrap of difference on performance, but looks wise, yeah, Akrapovic a lot better. And you got the you know, the prestige badge on the side saying it's Akrapovic, whereas this is a Beowulf, so it sounds a bit Timo. And it looks a little bit 90s, I think. It looks like it's come off a CBR 600 from the 90s or whatever, you know. It was very much an impulse purchase. I asked the guy about it, and he said, oh yeah, they're £150. Oh, 150 quid, not like a zillion quid for an Acura. So I thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy that. So I bought it. I thought, if I don't like it, I'll just take it off. It's not the end of the world. I might get 100 quid for it second hand, bloody blah. I've had it on here a couple of years now, and it's great. It's weathering fine. It's not felt to bits. Still sounds great. So yeah, that's another little upgrade. I've got the full luggage for this. I tend to ride around with a top box on all the time, which I bought when I bought the bike, and then I bought the panniers afterwards, because they're a zillion quid, and I didn't want to spend a zillion quid all in one go, so I spaced it out a little bit. They are a godsend when I go camping, which is probably 3 or 4 times a year, so I only use them 3 or 4 times a year. So yeah, not exactly getting my money's worth, but it's kind of makes life a lot easier when you do go camping. Other things I've had done to it is, if you didn't see my remap video from James at Shiny Side Up, excuse me, I'm trying not to burp and hiccup at the same time. That's a bit of a yeah. So I decided to have a remap. I was talking to James about it, and I've seen his videos. If you don't know James at Shiny Side Up, he's on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as well. Check him out. He's in the Midlands area, just outside of Hinckley in Leicestershire. So anyway, I went to James. Again, apologies if you've seen the video. If you want to see more about the remap video, I'll try and remember. I don't know, do people click on them cards that you put on the top? And it's on my channel anyway. If you want to go and have a look, go and have a look. It's not that difficult. So I had a remap. The remap is makes the bike a lot more sprightly, to be honest with you. It's not like jumping on a whatever with 200 horsepower after like your 130 whatever it is, 136, 38, whatever it's supposed to be a standard, but it is noticeably quicker. To me it feels like this bike is suddenly got a gym membership, and it's gone down the gym and it's lifted loads of heavy weights, and then it's took a nice course of test and testosterone, and maybe a bit of Deca as well, and a sprinkle in the Trembolone, because that's made it a bit more angry. So yeah, it is definitely bigger, stronger, faster as a result of the remap. Originally I wasn't going to have the remap because I thought, oh, is it really worth remapping this thing? But I've rode the 1300 GS quite a lot, and as much as I like it, there's a big price differential between this bike, what it's worth now, and upgrading or swapping, whatever you want to call it, to a 1300. And with the remap, I would say that this is pretty close, power-wise and performance-wise, to the 1300. There's not a lot in it. I'd like to have a little drag race, and against the 1300 to be super sure. But when I'm on it and you open the throttle, you think, you know what, there ain't a lot in it, So for a small outlay of money, which to be honest seemed quite a lot for a remap, but hey-ho, I think it's well worth it. And I say I've had this about a month, and it's certainly improved it. I did put a DNA filter in it as well. Whether that makes any difference or not, I don't know. You can't hear the induction noise on this, pretty much. And I've got some little pops and bangs on the overrun. Nothing too intrusive. It's a GS. I didn't want it too asbo, just enough, just to like know that it's on a course of steroids. What else have I done? We did upgrade the dash. Again, that's on the remap video, so we're doing that at the same time. It's basically, I mean, you don't have to have an upgraded. I say an upgraded. It's updated dash. All of the newer BMWs, like the GS's and the S1000Rs, RTs, all of the newer ones, they have this style of graphics on the TFT screen. So that is available if you want it now. So I had that switched on. I don't really know whether I like it any more than the other one, to be honest. And I could get him to take it off if I really wanted to. But yeah, it's a bit like, when you get a big update on your iPhone and everything's like, oh my god, I don't like this much. Everything's the same but changed, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like that, really. So I've had that done, and I also had the front indicators activated as running lights. So the front indicators are on permanently now, as well as obviously the headlight is running daylight running light, is that what you call it? So that just gives a little bit more visibility when you're out on the road, and obviously when you indicate, the indicators work as normal. So yeah, I've had that done as well. I've had no lights fitted. I do fancy some lights, some of them Denali's, or I quite fancy the Lone Rider lights. I do like the Lone Rider ones as well, but it's a lot of frigging money for 2 lights. You're talking over £1,000 for 2 lights. I know they're good, but they're still £1,000, isn't it? Imagine what I could buy it for £1,000. I could fill this tank with V-Power for £1,000. Yeah, I think this Insta's a little bit floppy Insta. And on that note, I'm talking rubbish, so I'm going to go. If you got to the end, as usual, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.